Friends, welcome to my video presentation. After a long time, I'm back with a presentation on population trends in India. My motivation is simple that last month in May 2026, when the fact sheet of NFHS 6 was released, demographic community started talking about the fear of population decline in India. And the reason was that the total fertility rate was found to be 2.0, and this is considered to be a rate below the replacement level. This fear led to some states like Andhra Pradesh start a policy of incentivizing childbirths. That also we will see in one of the slides. I want to present all detailed facts about population growth in India before you and leave it to you to decide what should be the right approach in contemporary India. I will have some small proposal, but it is ultimately for you to decide what should happen and whether policy like incentivizing childbirth universally are okay or not. So I'm sharing my presentation. It's not a big presentation. And it is here. The title of the presentation is Latest Population Trends and the Religious Question. Actually, keeping in view that the video should not become very lengthy. So I'm focusing on the religious question, but same idea applies to all kinds of differentials in fertility and mortality and ultimately in population growth. So what I'm saying about religion can be considered for differences between states also, or differences between classes, urban and rural residents, and so on. So this lecture presents India's population trends, contradictions and challenges that they pose, their implications in terms of population growth differentials by region and religion, etc. Region, because region is everywhere a factor in studying spatial differences in population growth, and religion because religion is becoming a significant identity in contemporary political mobilization. So I will also discuss their political implications, and I will make an argument against a universal policy of incentivizing childbirth as started by Mr. Chandrababu Naidu in Andhra Pradesh. So let us first come to population profile of India. According to UN 2024 medium variance projections, the current population of India is 1476 million, means 1476 million. It is every day, every second population is changing, but in June 2026, it is around that, 1476. You know that we did not have a census in 2021. So these are all estimates, projections, and this refers to medium variant of population projections made by United Nations. Now, India ranks number 1 in population. Among all the countries of the world, India's population is the highest. You have to notice this. India has the largest population in the world, leaving China behind. So far, China was number 1, rank 1, in population size, but now it is India. And India comprises 17.79% of the total world population. But the total land area of India is only 2.4% of the world. Something similar to what was written in the first population policy draft prepared by Dr. Karan Singh. So from a certain perspective, situation has changed very little. India has a large population density of 497 per kilometer square. Another significant aspect of population composition is that 37.61% of India's population is urban. That means 555 million people are living in urban areas where state of infrastructure is poor. There are illegal constructions. The other day in TV debate, somebody was talking that more than 70% of structures in our capital city, Delhi, are illegal. And uh, this all produces crime, leading to multiple problems. You know, when I was a student of population, we used to talk about over-urbanization thesis. That there are poor countries where urbanization is increasing at a faster rate than they can afford. Means the urbanization is more, but the quality of urban living is poor. Are we still not in the same situation, over urbanization? We are urbanizing day by day. And not only this, that 37.61% people live in urban areas. Actually, among the rest, also majority of people depend on nearby urban areas for satisfying various needs of their life. So an influence of urbanism is almost 100%, almost 100%. Even if you go to remote areas, because of mobile, television sets, and political reach by different political parties, you find that uh, the quality of life of rural areas today is not same as it used to be earlier. It's not same. So for all practical purposes, you can say that rural population has also urbanized. This rate of growth, high rate of growth, which I mentioned, uh, is 0.87. This is according to United Nations projections that we have a high growth rate of 0.87% per year in 2026. So this is the contradiction. You have a below replacement fertility of 2.0, but a high rate of growth of population, which is 0.87% per year, reminding us of a rate of a typically underdeveloped country. International migration is very small, insignificant, and according to Worldometer, we are losing only slightly 4.40 lakh per year due to net migration. Some people are coming in, some people are leaving. If you subtract number of those uh, leaving the country from those who are coming to this country, then you find a gap of 4.40 lakh per year. We are losing due to migration. Means more people are leaving India than coming to India from other countries. Now compare this with our own system, sample registration scheme. I checked with the SRS Bulletin 2026. The natural growth rate means birth rate minus death rate for India is 1.19. Of course, uh, Birth rate, death rate, and natural growth rate are stated in per thousand forms. I have converted them into percentage form so that you can compare this figure with the high growth rate of 0.87 projected by United Nations. So if population migration at the international level is insignificant and population of India is changing only due to births and deaths, then we are growing at a rate of 1.19% per year. And this rate pertains to uh, 2024. Our rural areas are growing at 1.35% per year, and urban areas are growing at 0.90% per year. And this is natural growth. Urban areas are also gaining from rural to urban migration, and rural areas are losing due to rural to urban migration. So, actual rate of growth of rural areas will be less than 1.35, and rate of growth of urban areas will be more than 0.90% per year. Now, to achieve a stationary population, a state when population neither rises nor falls, we need a growth rate of 0. So you see how far we are from that. And looked at from this perspective of high growth rate of population of close to 1% per year, there is certainly a need for control of number of births, or to use a simple language or conventional language, need for population control to continue. Density of population is high, resources are poor, investment is small, there are problems on the front of foreign reserves and balance of payment, and keeping all these things, and the deforestation, keeping all these things in mind, there is a need for population control. You may not agree with me on this account, but I feel so that there is a need for population control. There is still need to control population. Otherwise, as for any size more than optimum, demographers define something like optimum, beyond which further growth of population leads to diseconomy of scale. So we are certainly in that phase. We have been facing this problem since 1951. That problem has not subsided. What else NFHS 6 shows? Let me give more figures from NFHS 6. In education, effectiveness of government policies, women empowerment, nutrition, and environment. There are so many indicators of them. There is certainly an improvement. There is also an improvement in infant mortality rate. According to sample registration scheme data, IMR of India has declined to 24 per thousand childbirths. Some welfare theorists may say that there is still scope for IMR to decline further. Present IMR for rural areas is 27 and urban areas 17. Ideally, it can be reduced to 3 to 4. All this combined with rising aspirations, all this means rise in education, improvement in quality of education, effectiveness of government policies, uh, women empowerment, etc., and fall in infant mortality, which was at one time a major factor in high fertility. So all this combined with rising aspirations and desire for earning opportunities among women, total fertility rate has reduced to below replacement level. On the positive side, this has a positive side also. This results in demographic dividend. And the median age of population is rising, and it's about 29.2 years today. There are some countries which are younger than us, but most of the developed countries are older than us, means their average age of population is more than 29.2. Now, what is the demographic dividend? I will not explain these pictures in detail, but what it means that in a typically underdeveloped country, the age composition figure looks like a pyramid. Now, as mortality starts declining, means more children survive. So, base of the pyramid, as in figure 2, this base of the pyramid is expanding. It is further expanding. And when fertility has also started declining, then this expansion of base stops, but proportion of population at older ages starts increasing. Ultimately, as in the developed countries, the fifth figure, you find that children are small in number, but old people are very high. And this uh, in between, during the transition period, there is a time, like in you can say in figure 3, uh, that the number of people or proportional uh, number in working ages, males and females, is comparatively high as compared to figure 1, 2, and 4 and 5. When uh, mortality has declined, fertility has declined, so two things happen. Number of childbirths become less, and old people are not living so long as they live later when mortality declines further, mortality specifically at older ages. So, in between, in the working ages, which may be defined between 15 and 65, proportion of people increases. This is called demographic dividend. It's called demographic dividend uh, on the pattern of economic dividend, as you get dividend from your mutual funds, etc. In the sense that this is the time when, if you utilize this increasing labor force population in a relative sense productively, then this will contribute to economic growth of the country. This is called demographic dividend. It's difficult to fix a date for a country, but in India, it may have started around 2005 as fertility started declining during 1980s after emergency period. Emergency, remember 1976. After that, fertility started declining in 80s, and this demographic window will close around 2050, which will mean that in 2050, number of children will be small, but number of people in working ages, again in a relative sense, will also be declining because proportion of older people, 65 plus, who are not so creative, productive as people in age group 15 to 65 are. So that proportion increases. Means proportion of dependent population per independent person increases. So that's a bad situation from economic point of view. But in countries like India, the demographic dividend can also turn out to be nightmare. In absence of, it's okay that you have proportionately large number of people in the working ages, but if they are not educated, they do not have right skills, They do not have social national commitment. They have no sense of the greatness of the civilization. Uh, if they are highly self-centered, if if they are unemployed and they are ready to do anything for money, they can be involved in crime. So that is not a good situation. Either this will create a nightmare, or people will start leaving for other countries. It's not good. So, demographic dividend, in absence of investment in economy, education, health, skills, etc., etc., may produce unrest, protest, political turmoil, deviance, and mental disorders. And what you see around uh, your town or city, the kind of unrest, protests that are taking place, and some kind of restlessness among the youths. They may not have a direction, proper direction in which direction to go, but the restlessness can easily be observed. This is because we have demographic dividend, but not proper investment. We do not have money to invest in economy, education, health, skills, in providing them employment, in providing them work, or all the resources, economic and other resources, mental, human, social resources with which they can produce. Now let us look at this total fertility rate thing. Total fertility rate is 2.0. Okay. And this is how we started in this video lecture. It is 1.6 for urban areas and 2.1 in rural areas. According to sample registration scheme data uh, issued in 2026, the total fertility rate is shown to be still less, only 1.9. But there are great regional differentials in fertility. So if Kerala has a total fertility rate of 1.8, Bihar has a total fertility rate of 2.7, perhaps highest among all the states. See the gap of 0.9. And this is not a simple gap of 0.9. This has very large implications for population growth and for democratic politics and so on. National level fertility has not changed from 2019 to 21. NFHS 5 shows the same total fertility rate of 2.0, and 6 also shows the same. However, 20.1% women and 15.9% men are still marrying below the legal age of marriage. Something on which front our government has to uh, develop some policies and implement policies and programs to bring these numbers to zero. Certainly, they are declining as compared to past, but 20 is not a small number. 20% women are marrying below the legal age of marriage of 18, and 15.9% men are marrying below the legal minimum age of 21. 69% married women in reproductive ages are using any family planning, but 52.7%, means half of the women, are using a modern method. Others are using traditional method, and we do not even know how effective those traditional methods are. So if you want to reduce your population growth rate, if you want to control births, then something has to be done on this front, certainly. And among those who are using modern methods, there are several modern methods. Most effective and terminal method is sterilization. 36.5% women and only 0.5% men are using sterilization. That means we are a patriarchal society, and if the couple decide to go for stoppage of childbirth, then it is women who are forced to go for sterilization. In very few cases, 0.5% of all the cases, men accept sterilization, while men's sterilization is much easier and much safer, uh, and does not require so much stay in the hospital uh, as compared to women's sterilization or tubectomy. The unmet need is only 8.5. This has declined from 9.4, but there is unmet need. This should be met. So government should also, as part of family planning program, reduce the unmet need of 8.5 to as low as possible, ultimately making it zero. In NFHS 5, average age of marriage for women was 19.2. Men were marrying above 24. Most men were marrying above 24, and average age for women was 19.2. Educated women, 12 plus, were marrying above 22. So age of marriage is rising. So friends, from my perspective, it's a myth that below replacement fertility or TFR of less than 2.1 will lead to population reduction soon. You see, TFR is a measure of growth potential in the next generation, not immediately, and not the present growth rate or growth rate in the next decade. If this had been the case, then our fertility started declining in 80s, but we still have a high growth rate. From what's standard, we have a growth rate of nearly 1% per year. So it's TFR is a measure of growth potential in the next generation. I have a further comment to make on TFR. The TFR refers to fertility among all the women in reproductive age. If you calculate fertility among married women, then SRS statistical report of 2020 shows that it is 5.2, 4.7 for urban areas and 5.4 for rural areas. As far as SRS 2026 report, this year's report shows in 2024 it had declined to 4.9. So you see, average number of children, potential wise, average number of children per woman has declined to 2.0, but average number of children among married women is still 4.9. This is a contradiction, and we have to resolve this. It's a very high total marital fertility rate. Why does this contradiction arise? It is because TFR has declined across all classes. Yeah, this also I want to emphasize across all classes, poor, middle class, rich class, everywhere. TFR has declined across all classes, largely due to rising age of marriage and women giving preference to income earning opportunities rather than family building. Today you find if you belong to a middle class like me and you hire helpers or domestic servants, you find that they come from rural areas or surrounding slum areas, and in their family, everywhere, all women, daughters as well as daughter-in-laws, everybody wants to work, everybody is working. So it's not that work is wanted only by highly educated middle class girls. All girls, irrespective of class, wants to work. They do not want to marry. And several of the middle class women are afraid of marrying. They are afraid of accepting the traditional burden of a married woman. They do not want control by their mother-in-law, father-in-law, control of family, traditional family. And then it's getting difficult, more and more difficult to find a husband whose nature, tastes, hobbies, lifestyle, personality are similar to yours. So, this marrying late or not marrying and not giving preference to children, giving more preference to income earning opportunities are the reasons why total fertility rate has declined. But those who are married, those who are forced to marry in rural areas, remote areas, and among certain castes and communities, religious communities, their total marital fertility rate is still quite high. My observations show I am a sociologist and I keep on collecting data, uh, not always as part of projects, but when I meet people, all kinds of people, I start talking to them about social issues and demographic issues. My observations show that educated women are afraid of marrying or they prefer career over marriage. However, the real challenges are posed by fertility differentials. Just an example. It's not that I want to communalize the issue, but only to illustrate the issue of differentials. See at these trends. Uh, in 2011, 79.8% of India's population was Hindu, 16.3% was Muslims, 2.3% was Christian, and 1.9% was Sikh. Now, as time passes, you see by 2050, what will happen? These proportions will change drastically because the population of Hindus is not growing as fast as of Muslims, and population of Christians and Sikhs uh, are certainly rising at the slowest speed. They are also rising, but the rate of growth is slowest. You will get some idea of the differences from this slide and the next slide. The total fertility rate among Muslims is 2.36, which implies number of children ever born of 4.8. Others, and let us leave others. Others means those who do not belong to these religions. Hindus have total fertility rate of 1.94 and mean number of children ever born of 3.6. Christians 1.88 and mean number of children 3.6. So Hindus and Christians have the same mean number of children, although total fertility rate is slightly different. Sikhs have total fertility rate of 1.61 and mean number of children is 2.5. Jains total fertility rate is 1.60 and mean number of children is 2.0. So they are in a situation where in the next generation they will just replace themselves. Others will grow. Other populations will grow at higher rate, but Jains will just become stationary. So that means their proportion will start falling. Uh, these data were taken from NFHS 5. NFHS 6 data are not yet analyzed and published. This graph shows, Pew Research Center graph shows children per woman, Muslims 3.2, Hindus 2.3, Christians 1.9, Sikhs 1.6, and others 1.8. These are some of the latest figures produced by the Pew Research Center. You can say they are this. They represent the contemporary situation. So while Sikhs exhibit the fertility of European countries, Muslims represent the fertility of African countries. This is the difference. And when there is a difference in fertility rate of so much of proportion, then the consequences for population growth are obvious unless Muslims also have higher infant mortality or higher mortality than Sikhs or Jains, which is not the case. Which is not the case. Only fertility is higher. So we have in India a religion which has African fertility and a religion which has European fertility and a religion which has American fertility. So you see, if you translate these total fertility rates or mean number of children into growth rate of population, between 2001 and 2011, the last census, Muslims grew by 24.6%, Hindus by 16.8%, Christians 15.5%, Sikhs 8.4%, Buddhists 6.1%, Jains 5.4%. And this means that as time passes, if the differentials between different religions persist of the same order, then the proportion of Sikhs, Buddhists, and Jains will start falling, and proportion of others, especially Muslims, will start increasing. Now, newspapers, TV discussions, and all, and his political speeches are all full of what can happen when demographic profile of a country changes. So the major challenges in the what I call postmodern politics, today's politics, postmodern politics. What is postmodern politics? That at the root of political mobilization is not class, it is identity. Demographic differentials by region by region I mean state, South Indian state, North Indian states, and differences within South India, differences within North India, religion, caste, and class are likely to get worsened. While in the economic field, we have gig economy without decent jobs for millions. So informal jobs are increasing. Formal, decent, regular jobs in industry, government sector, they are decreasing. Then recently there was a controversy in connection with women's reservation bill for raising their percentage on parliament and state assemblies. There was this issue of people's representation and delimitation. Fertility differentials according to regions are going to give rise to such kinds of complex issues in the country. When the first population policy draft was announced, Dr. Karan Singh frees the political representation as well as grant of central budget to different states on the basis of 1971 census. And this date has further been revised. How long will you revise it? How long? Will someday people will not ask equal representation on parliament and state legislative or some equal. And the moment they start asking for equal, means North Indian states start asking for greater representation on parliament. Forget about the population policy draft or amendments which freeze the number of seats according to according to 1971 census, then what will happen? This is such a burning issue that politically this can even lead to disintegration of the country. Then the issue of delimitation is closely connected with them. Managing urban growth, law and order situation, and infrastructure needs, preparing for an aging. So now we are moving in a direction in which every year we will age. Proportion of older people will increase. Adult mortality is declining, and fertility is also declining. So population will age. Uh, and so the overall age of population will increase. We are becoming older. And at the same time, we are still benefiting from demographic window. So how to prepare for an aging population? How to take care of the aged people when the traditional institutions like family, joint family which took care of all needs of old people are crumbling and new institutions have not replaced them. So you have to prepare a policy for handling issues of the older people and also benefit from the demographic dividend, means provide more capital, human capital, financial capital, social capital, cultural capital, invest in these capitals for the development of the youth or those in the working ages. What is incentivization? Incentivization in 2026, the Andhra Pradesh government under Chief Minister N. Chandrababu Naidu announced rupees 30,000 for the birth of a third child because total fertility rate has gone below the replacement level. So he announced in order to raise fertility level to replacement level means 2.1. He announced that the government will give 30,000 rupees for the birth of a third child and 40,000 rupees for the birth of a fourth child. Earlier proposals also included incentives such as 25,000 for a third child, 1,000 per month support. Children will need support as they grow. Free education for the third child up to 18 years and subsidized IVF treatment as part of broader population policy. So suppose some couple become infertile for natural reasons. So IVF support may be provided to such couples to produce children. First child, second child, third child, fourth child. Now think of the consequences of these differentials. Do you think that women who are afraid of marrying, who are marrying late, who prefer career of any kind, it may be a small career, as poor or low quality career as of a domestic servant, or it may be a high career as of a senior manager in a software company or in a startup. So women who are looking for career and therefore they are marrying late or they are not willing to produce a child, will giving 30,000 rupees or 40,000 rupees to them in one go uh, motivate them to produce child? The answer is no. My answer is no. Nobody will produce a child for 30,000 rupees. So what will happen? What will happen is that those who are already producing 4 or 5 children, they will only benefit from incentivization. Do we want that kind of situation? That those people who should control fertility actually, among whom more education, more empowerment, uh, more development should occur, more secular education must go. Those people only will benefit from incentivization. And this incentivization will not affect your total fertility rate at the national level at all. Very little change. And change may be accruing largely from those who are already producing more number of children. So to summarize, India has reached the below replacement level fertility. No doubt about that. 2.0 is less than 2.1, a replacement level fertility. And revival is unexpected. We are not expecting that the total fertility rate of India will go up now. There was only one state in NFHS 6, Jammu and Kashmir. This was an outlier. And this state showed a rise in fertility. Otherwise, in all the states, there is decline. Ironically, India is still grappling with large population and is rising at a high rate. So, uh, in absence of human and economic and social and cultural capital, our demographic dividend is likely to get converted into demographic nightmare. And everyday conflicts, riots, protests, criminal activities, killings, mental disorders, rising mental disorders, they are all indicative of this demographic nightmare. Aggravating differences in fertility and population growth among regions and religions should be avoided. Incentivization will not help. Incentivization will only aggravate differences in fertility and population growth. And thus, a universal policy for incentivizing childbirth requires a critique based on facts. Now, will you suggest incentivization of childbirth for all in a state like Kerala also, where natural increase for Hindus is negative and natural increase for Muslims and Christians is positive? You may say that we cannot differentiate between people, we are a secular country. USSR was a communist country. May not be perfect communist country, but it was a socialist country. Classes were abolished, and it was moving towards communism. At least this is what they stated. But when they found that there are tremendous differences in fertility according to region, fertility was very low in European part of USSR, Christian population, and fertility was very high in the Asian part where Muslims were living predominantly in high proportion. So they decided to go for a differentiated population policy. This is a fact. You can check from the history. If a socialist communist country can go for differentiated population policy, why can't India, a secular country now, go for such a policy? I mean, uh, encourage some people who are producing less number of children to produce more, and discourage those who are producing more children from producing more children. That makes sense. That will create some kind of social, cultural, political, regional, and religious balance in society. Otherwise, uh, the differential. So, when I said that we have contradictions and we have new challenges, one of the contradiction is that total fertility rate is below the replacement level, but population growth is high. Second challenge is the challenge that there are very significant regional differences in growth rate of population. And third challenge is that there are significant differences in growth rate of different identities. And they have to be checked to create a balance, religious, cultural, political balance in society, historical balance. We have to check these things. And therefore, uh, it's not easy to suggest a universal kind of policy or to say that because we are uh, facing a below replacement fertility, so all women of all regions, classes, castes, communities must be given some incentive to produce more number of children or an extra child. Thank you. I hope some of your questions related to population trends are answered. Thank you.